Shalom and welcome back to the broadcast. It's Monday, March 26th, not March 30th, March 26th, 2018. I'm Sean, your host. Website is www.scriptureandprophecy.com. And today we are looking at Exodus chapter 10 and 11. And this week's going to be a little bit different. And I'll talk more about this later, but we've got Passover coming up. And so, interestingly enough, chapter 12 of the book of Exodus deals with the Passover. And I hadn't planned that we'd be that close to chapter 12 at the time of Passover. And as a matter of fact, perfectly. Depending on what calendar you go off of, I go by the one at Root Awakening, which places Passover at sundown on Sunday evening until sundown Monday evening. And so it just so happens that I would have recorded chapter 12, the reading, on the day of Passover without doing that on purpose. And so I find that to be kind of interesting. But what I'm going to do is probably go ahead and record it on Friday. So we'll do chapter 10 and 11 today, and then chapter 12, which deals with the Passover, on Friday. And we'll talk a little bit about Passover, and then I'll probably re-upload my teaching from last year on the Passover and the Moed and all of that on Monday for you guys. So that is the thinking right now. Also, I'm planning on trying to do the first two, the introductory video and the first video on the alphabet for the Hebrew training course this week. So I'm hoping to record those and get those posted this week. And more information coming about that later on. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dig right into Exodus chapter 10, and I just pray in the name of Jesus that I do a good job, because it is a rough Monday morning for my mind right now, and but hopefully the Spirit of the Lord will help us out here. All right, Exodus chapter 10, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart, and the heart of his servants, that I might show thee signs before him, and that thou mayest tell in the ears of thy son and thy son's sons the things I have wrought in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that ye may know that I am the Lord. And Moses and Aaron came into Pharaoh, and they said unto him, Thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, How long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring the locust into thy coast. And they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth. And they shall eat the residue of that which escaped, which remaineth unto you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which groweth for you out of the field. And they shall fill thy houses, and the houses of all thy servants, and the houses of all the Egyptians, which neither thy fathers nor thy fathers' fathers have seen since the day that they were upon the earth unto this day. And he turned himself, and he went out from Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's servants said unto him, How long shall this man be a snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve the Lord their God. Knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? I had a thought when I read that yesterday morning as I was preparing for this podcast. You've got the servants coming to Pharaoh saying, Look, enough's enough. You got to let him go. You got to let them go so they can serve Yahovah, so they can serve the Lord. Can't you see with your own eyes? Can't you tell? They say, knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? And I was thinking about the United States of America. And I was thinking about the church and the people. And I was thinking, why can't you humble yourselves? Like, why can we not humble ourselves and repent and turn back to the Lord? Can we not see that the United States is destroyed? Do you not see what's happened to the food supply? Do you not see what's happened to the political climate? Do you not see what's happening to our culture? We don't even know what bathroom to use. Everything, I mean, we are in trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. We're, all these things. And we could spend hours just going through the list of things. And so that's what was coming to my mind was, man, even in our day, we can't see these simple things. And so these servants are coming to Pharaoh and they're saying, look, you gotta let Moses go. You gotta let them go serve the Lord. Can't you see that Egypt is destroyed already, All right, moving forward, verse 8. And Moses and Aaron were brought again unto Pharaoh, and he said unto them, Go serve the Lord your God. But who are they that shall go? And Moses said, We will go with our young and with our old, with our sons and with our daughters, with our flocks and with our herds we will go, for we must hold a feast unto the Lord. And he said unto them, Let the Lord be so with you, as I will let you go, and your little ones. Look to it, for evil is before you. Not so. Go now, ye that are men, and serve the Lord. For that ye did desire. And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thy hand over the land of Egypt, for the locusts, that they may come upon the land of Egypt, and eat every herb of the land, even all that the hail hath left. And Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locust. And the locust went up over all the land of Egypt, and rested all the coast of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them be such. For they covered the face of the whole earth, so the land was darkened. And they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left. And there remained not any given thing in the trees, or in the herbs of the field, through all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron in haste, and he said, I have sinned against the Lord your God, and against you. Now therefore forgive, I pray thee, my sin only this once, and entreat the Lord your God, that he may take away from me this death only. And he went out from Pharaoh, and he entreated the Lord. And the Lord turned a mighty strong west wind, which took away the locusts and cast them into the Red Sea. There remained not one locust in all the coast of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go. And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days, but all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. And Pharaoh called unto Moses and said, Go ye, serve the Lord, only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones also go with you. And Moses said, Thou must give us also sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto the Lord our God. Our cattle also shall go with us. There shall not a hoof be left behind. For thereof must we take to serve the Lord our God. And we know not with what we must serve the Lord until we come hither. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go. And Pharaoh said unto him, Get thee from me, take heed to thyself, see my face no more. For in that day thou seest my face, thou shalt die. And Moses said, "Thou hast spoken well. I will see thy face again no more." All right, so before we move on to chapter 11, which is only just a few verses, we had the plague of the locusts, which came and devoured everything that was left over. There was only a few things left from what the hail had destroyed as far as crops were concerned, and then the locusts just came and consumed all the rest. So now there's nothing left. And then there was this darkness, which I find very, very intriguing. It doesn't tell us a lot about it, right? Just that this darkness was stretched out over all of Egypt, and it was thick, and it was there for 3 days. It says they saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. So, I don't know exactly what this darkness is. We can speculate. Commentaries say that it was so bad that you couldn't even see. Just very, very strange. And it was so much that, apparently light wasn't even an option. However, because God is distinguishing between Israel and Egypt, all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings, it says. And of course, Pharaoh calls Moses and says, "Okay, go serve the Lord, but you got to leave your flocks behind." There's always some caveat. The whole land of Egypt is completely destroyed. There's nothing left. Their economy's gone. Their food source is gone. Everything's gone and destroyed. And yet, Pharaoh is still doing this. But of course we know it's because God has hardened his heart, because God has already predetermined that Egypt would suffer these things, that God would make his name known throughout all the land, that there would be this sign and these stories to tell, that the Israelites would have to tell their children and their children's children, and that Egypt would be punished for what they had done to the Israelites. And then he makes a comment, and Pharaoh tells Moses, "You know what? You're never going to see my face again." He's angry. And Moses says, "You have spoken well. You will not see my face again, no more." Let's read chapter 11 here and wrap it up. It's only 10 verses. "And the Lord said unto Moses, Yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor jewels of silver and jewels of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, and in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people." All right, real quick here. If you remember at the very, very beginning of this thing, God told Moses, "I'm going to make you a god." Right? And here we have, Moses is seen as this great entity in the eyes of the people, in the eyes of the Egyptians. And of course, think about it. The common people, the common Egyptians, they don't want all this trouble. This is the result of what leadership can do to a country. And sadly, the leadership is usually the last one to suffer the consequences. The people bear the burdens. If you look around the world, where there's financial crisis and famine, who's suffering? It's not your political leadership, right? It's the common people. And so here in Egypt, you have the common people. They see that Yahovah must really be the one true God, and so they see these people in a different light. They're seeing the Israelites in a different way. And it says that the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Verse 4, "And Moses said, Thus saith the Lord, About midnight I will go into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. When the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of the beast." Check that out. It wasn't just the firstborn of the Egyptians. Even the firstborn of the beast were going to die. I mean, everything, right? Verse 6, and there should be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it any more. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue, against a man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. All right, again, real quick, makes this statement. He says, but against the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue. Okay? Now, the other day, my wife and I, we got some groceries, walking out to the car, and there's a dog inside the car next to us, and what happens what do you think happens the minute I walk up to my vehicle? The dog just starts barking and going crazy, right? You've all seen this. You walk down the sidewalk, if there's a dog on a chain outside, what's it doing? Barking at you. If it's in the house, it's at the window barking at you. What happens when you walk up to a house that has dogs? The dogs immediately rush the door and start barking, right? This is what a dog does. But in this situation, as the Israelites are gathering all these goods from the Egyptians, gold and silver and all this, not even a dog dared to move its tongue against the Israelis. The dogs are there, mouth closed, no barking. And that was one of the signs that the Lord puts a difference between the Egyptians and the Israelis, so much so that even a dog that can't help but bark whenever a person walks by didn't move its tongue against them. Verse 8, and all these thy servants shall come down unto me, and bow down themselves unto me, saying, Get thee out, and all the people that follow thee, and after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land. And that is chapter 10 and 11 of the book of Exodus. And like I said, on Friday, we're going to check out Passover, 51 verses, chapter 12, and we're going to read it on Friday to help prepare your hearts leading into Passover this coming weekend. I don't know for sure if I'm going to be able to do a podcast Wednesday because, like I said, I'm trying to get these two first videos done for the Hebrew training course, which will be available to everyone on YouTube. And then moving forward from that, those videos will be released early to Patreon subscribers and those who support the mission of truth, who support this podcast, probably a couple of weeks, if not longer, in advance from being put on YouTube. So, but the first two, just an introduction, just a conversation about it, and then the first video where we begin. Golly, it's been an early morning, where we begin to learn the alphabet, the aleph-bet, the Hebrew alphabet. So that is the plan for this week, Lord willing, and we'll see how it plays out. That's all I got for you this morning. I hope you have a great Monday. Peace and grace be with all of you, and until next time, God bless.